Wait, I got a really good question on this. Just curious, who said past doesn't matter? It was you?
Me.
None of their business?
No, body count is not their business. But I definitely think like past exes, past relationship behaviors, like that.
Yeah, I got a perfect question for you. So was it just you two who have this position?
Yeah.
Past shouldn't matter, doesn't matter?
Yeah, in some ways.
Would you date a guy who's had homosexual sex?
No.
Why not?
Because that would be kind of fruity, right?
But, okay, and then would you date a man who's had sex with a man?
I want a straight man, sorry.
Yeah, my preference is just a straight man.
No, he's straight, but he's had sex with a man before.
That means he's not straight.
Okay, fine. I'll even grant he's bisexual.
No,
my preference is not a bisexual man.
Yeah, but he's met you. He's no longer dating men anymore. And he hasn't dated...
Then as long as he's not going to go have sex with any other men.
No, but he's been...
Personal preference, I would not.
It still wouldn't bother you?
And he changed his mind?
Yeah,
like,
he changed his mind.
I like macho men.
People who are like curious.
So like a year before he dated you, he was getting plowed in the ass by another man.
No.
Okay, at least you're honest. Okay.
Yeah, my preference would be no.
No, but he's done. Totally done with men.
Still no.
Yeah, I just kind of maybe like wish he hadn't told me that, because it's it's none of my
here's the
business.
truth. So he told you it. It's the truth of what happened. Would it be an issue?
Moving forward, he's completely done with it, then no.
Would it give you the ick?
Yeah.
So would you even date a guy like that to begin with?
I mean, it's like, is he thinking about me having sex with guys in the past? That would give him the ick too. Just like, don't think about that. It has nothing to do with you.
No, but I don't care about him. I'm talking about you.
Yeah, I wouldn't think about it either. As long as it's never going to happen again, then I guess experiment once he decided he didn't like it.
Okay. So the way that y'all feel about you being with a man who fucked another man, that's how we feel about you guys.
Fucking other guys?
Fucking other men.
All right, what if someone lies about being closeted? Like they say they're completely straight.
But doesn't that make you fruity?
What?
If you like...
Sorry, repeat the question again. I'll try to engage you on this.
Okay. For example, I dated someone for like 6 months and they told me they were actually, like I caught them in the act of sucking dick.
Oh.
Now, like, what do I think? Like, I'm traumatized because I thought this guy was straight. Is that count as he slept with other men in the past, or like, and I'm at fault for that, or is that his fault for not being honest?
I don't know.
I just want a real man that doesn't do that stuff. Is that so hard to find nowadays?
But okay.
It sounds like I need to go to therapy after this.
Me too.
Emily and Deborah, you guys said you disagree that men are the thing is men are not insecure for caring about a woman's body count. You both disagreed. Why is that?
I circled it?
You did circle it, Deborah.
I disagree, meaning I do think he's insecure for caring about body count.
Yeah, I think I circled out too.
Huh?
I disagree, meaning I do think it's insecure to care about body count.
Do you know what disagree means?
What was the statement?
Men are not insecure for caring about a woman's body count.
Disagreeing means men are insecure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I disagreed with that statement, meaning men are insecure for worrying about body count.
Right.
Yes.
That's saying men aren't. Men are not insecure.
Why do you think that?
Do you know the definition of...
She thinks men are insecure for it.
Yeah, I disagree with the statement, meaning yes, men are insecure for thinking that, for being concerned about that.
Okay. Right. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, right. I guess I also circled it, but not for the same reason. I don't think insecure is the right word for it necessarily. I don't think it makes them insecure. I just think, I don't know why I disagree with that. I just feel like insecure is a weird word to use to describe that. I think both partners in a relationship should have some level of concern at all, or they don't, that's fine, and then they would be a good match for each other. But I think it's very normal and healthy to have some concern about that for bonding, because it makes it harder to bond with people. But insecure is just not, I wouldn't call a man insecure for being concerned.
And why are men insecure if they care about a woman's body count?
Because like I said, why is that any of your business? Like, you weren't part of the picture. Maybe if you came into my life sooner, I met the love of my life, I wouldn't have gone around sleeping with this guy, that guy.
Would you say that you don't think it's fair? Like, would it not be fair for a guy, you tell him your body count, and because of your body count, he doesn't want to date you? Would that be unfair?
I would think that would be insecure.
Insecure. So
I don't think it's unfair because people have their preferences.
Sure. Okay. But he would be insecure.
Yeah, because why does me being with other men before you're even there like bother you so much? Are you trying to? That's
well,
kind
wouldn't
of
it be a mark of security? So if the idea is that a person has boundaries and preferences, and they're willing to enforce those preferences, it seems like it's the most secure thing you can do.
But you can't like base someone's behavior from when they're single, like let that affect how they would act when they're in a relationship. Because that's when I'm single. I wouldn't go sleep around with random people when I'm in a relationship.
Well, I mean, actually, the best predictor for future behavior is past behavior. So, I mean,
being single, you can say my past behavior in relationships.
Who's the psychology degree person?
Me.
Yeah, this is actually like a psychological
but
principle.
you can't compare someone being single to them being in a relationship. They act totally
different. Two different people.
I mean, I agree with this point. I don't think you're making a bad point that people can reform and all different sorts of things. I'm not even disagreeing with that. I'm only disagreeing about one point, which is the idea of insecurity. If you have boundaries on what your preferences are and you're not willing to compromise on those boundaries, doesn't that show security, not insecurity?
I feel like you should be secure with your partner, knowing that they're with you in the present moment, and moving forward, they wouldn't repeat the past.
That doesn't answer my
things that
question.
they did.
But I feel like it's double standards because men get.
Let me repeat the question so I make sure that you understand the question. If you have boundaries and you enforce those boundaries, right? How is that not a sign of security?
It is insecure to be concerned over something superficial that didn't involve you and would not be repeated with this new bond that you're involved in. Why would you let external factors affect something like a whole different situation? I think it's insecure to worry about. It's kind of like don't worry about things that are out of your control type of thing. Like it's kind of insecure to be thinking about what they're doing when you weren't even in the picture.
Isn't it insecure to try to make a person compromise on their boundaries for your benefit?
No, because then that's just preference. If they don't need to be with me, I said I would respect if a man didn't want to be with me because of my body count.
But what would make that? But the point here is
because why are you so worried about what I did before you? Like, why does that affect you and us presently?
Because you're enforcing your preference. You're enforcing your preference and your boundaries. And so if you enforce your preference and boundaries, that seems like it's a sign of a secure person. An insecure person would be somebody who would compromise on their own boundaries, right?
But an insecure person is someone who's even concerned about that. It's like calling a woman insecure for saying like, oh, why are you liking her photos on Instagram? But me being secure is me respecting my relationship boundaries. Like you shouldn't be liking all these women's pictures.
Okay, well, let's
But they're going to call me insecure for getting upset over them.
Is it insecure to not, like, let's say that you really loved the chick, you thought she was great, and then you found out she had genital herpes, and so you said, okay, I'm going to end this relationship because I don't want to be with somebody who has genital herpes. Is that insecurity?
No, that's bringing a health concern into it.
But it happened before. It happened before, right? Had nothing.
But that is something that affects your present partner. That is a health concern. But all the other hookups before, if you never caught anything, none of that affects your current partner.
And you did it safely, then it shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, sure. It's a health concern, right? But it still conflates to preference. So some people's preferences, this health concern wouldn't bother them. For other people, the health concern would bother them. They're just enforcing their preference, right?
Well, it's just my preference to not have my boyfriend following girls, but some people are going to say that's insecure for not letting him interact with girls.
Yeah, I understand that some people would say that. I'm not saying that it's an insecurity that you have boundaries, and because you have boundaries, you're willing to enforce them. That's not insecure. That seems like it's a sign of being secure. Insecure seems to me like a person who's willing to wane on their boundaries or in some way throw them out the window. That seems like a sign of insecurity.
I think insecurity is more not feeling secure enough in your relationship to not be worried about those external factors. If you were secure enough, you wouldn't be worried about who your partner was with before you or who your partner is interacting with online. If you were secure enough with all that, I think it is insecure to be worried about those superficial things that do not concern you presently.
Might I jump in really quick? Do you think a man would be insecure if he didn't want to date a woman because she had a body count of 100?
No. Wait, can you repeat that?
But what does that have to do with him?
This is totally central to the conversation. Oh, no. Oh, wait, you were answering it. What does that have to do with him?
Yeah.
So, okay, just so we're clear, there would be no, and I'll even grant you that there's no STDs involved. Somehow she's fucking played Russian roulette with her pussy, still didn't get an STD. 1,000 men. She's been with 1,000 men before him. Still insecure.
As long as she's not still talking to those men, or nothing's gonna happen during this relationship.
Damn.
She's been with 10,000 men before him. Still insecure?
What is there to complain about though? Like, is her coochie loose? Is she concerned? Is it affecting your health?
No, that's not,
like exactly. What is the problem? That's just a matter of like possession and trying to objectify someone and be like, oh, you're like worth less to me when you've been experienced by other people.
You're like stalking who he's following. You're
but that's
possessive.
present. That's present moment. But what happened before doesn't matter.
I bet you still get jealous of the chicks he used to fuck.
Me personally,
Bro.
yes. I'm insecure. I can admit that.
Oh, okay,
but I would admit that it's insecure for a man too.
What?
Yeah, but why would it be insecure if, like, you do realize that men have a revolt factor in them, right? And for good reason. They have a revolt factor for good reason. The idea being that the less men that a woman has been with, the more likely that you can secure paternity, right? So this is the idea. The idea is that until modern times in paternity tests, the only way you could determine if a child was yours is if a woman exclusively was having sex with you, right? There was no other way to determine that. So it's wired into men to have a revolt factor to a woman's promiscuous behavior, right? It's actually wired in. So if that's the case, right, then the premise here is, hey, they find it revolting. Why would it be a sign of insecurity to you know, for some reason, do the thing you thought was revolting? It just seems the opposite to me.
But isn't it also like biologically ingrained in women to like find a provider and such like that?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
So
you would think that they would tailor if they wanted a provider, and they knew that men generally tend to find higher body counts to be revolting. If women were moving towards that, you would think that they would keep their body counts low on purpose, right? Like, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but not all men care about that type of stuff. And so
well,
I think
that's true. Not all do. Not all do. But the type of men that you would probably want probably care about that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but then there's the type of men who care about what the woman's body count is, but totally dismisses what his own body count is.
And that's what double
that's
standards
because
come
women
in.
tend to not care about that at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It's very bizarre. And this has always been a strange phenomenon to me, but I've actually seen men who are virgins in their 30s get shamed by women and told, well, wait, there must be actually something wrong with you if other women don't desire you. They're like, there must be something wrong with you. I've actually seen that. But I don't really see that phenomenon in reverse, which is strange. Like, men definitely desire women who have no body count. Like, they definitely desire that. But on the flip side
every
of
guy
that,
wants a virgin.
women don't seem to give a shit too much about a man's body count.
I don't know. Some men like their women a little seasoned. Maybe they're a little more experienced.
But most of men just want a virgin. Like, so you guys just go date a 15-year-old then that hasn't done shit. Like, what?
Wait,
So you wouldn't ask your man
I don't
for his, like,
understand.
body count?
Why the assumption
So is it
has
not
to
weird
be-
for a 40-year-old to be a virgin? Because my brother's a 40-year-old and he's a virgin.
So
Yeah, I think a lot of women would see that as a
We're
red
talking about
flag.
body count, and I have a brother who's a virgin. He's 40.
what about them?
I find that kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Well, that makes sense, right? I think
You're
that
40
most
at that
women
point,
would
like,
say that's
you're getting
weird.
old.
That's weird. That's odd. That's strange that he's 40 and a virgin, right? This actually is making my point for me. And so what does she do immediately? She's like, oh, well, if you want a virgin, go find a 15-year-old. What does the big 15 have to do with their virginity? Like,
I don't know.
all of that
Younger
is
the
just
girl,
a straight up
right?
shaming
Less
tactic.
experience.
It's all shaming tactic to tell a man it's inappropriate for you to not want a woman with a high body count. So that's just insane.
And actually, it's interesting. Like, the 40-year-old male virgin is like a lot of women, like the women that would date him in terms of, like, you know, respective age or whatever, the women in that age range, that's going to probably be a big red flag for vast majority of women. But like, somehow there's a 40-year-old virgin woman, I would argue that she's going to be pretty highly coveted by a lot of men in her own age range. They're going to be like, whoa, that's rare.
Be like a unicorn.
Whereas the dude's going to be looked at as a weirdo, right?
Yeah, dude's
Yeah.
going to be like, that's super weird.
I feel like it depends on the reason too. Like I would be like, why are you a virgin at 40?
Because he lives with his mom and plays video games.
Okay.
And works a job, but I'm like,
That's different.
Weird. Like, go out and that dating life or something. Do something.
Be good in bed. So
I personally don't find it like any problem with a virgin man at all. In my
But at
opinion.
like 40.
Yeah.
If anything, he's
40 is. I would ask. Like I said, I would ask.
Bad as sex.
Yeah, right. But that's the whole key,
mean,
right? The
then you
whole
can
key
teach him
there is
then.
like, you would
I
ask
love
because you
teaching.
think it's weird, right? You would ask because you think it's weird.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
the
I would ask.
point.
I would just
It's
ask.
unusual for sure.
Because he could just be like
Yeah.
really religious and he just hasn't found the girl. I don't know.
And that's cute.
true.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I'm just.
Also,
Save
like,
That's
yourself
true,
for
but
marriage.
the fact that you think it's weird is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
fact that you even think it's odd to begin with is showing this kind of distinction, which we're looking at, which is that definitely men seem to be very happy with women with low body counts and seem to prefer it if they can get one. Whereas women don't seem to care nearly as much about men having a higher body count. And this could have something to do with the penetrative nature of it. I'm not exactly sure why, but that does seem to be the case.
I mean, I disagree. I personally do care about my man's body count. I feel like it's super important for me to know, especially because sex is such a spiritual thing that in my eyes, I feel like you should only share it with one person, even though I know you guys probably
Sure.
disagree with that. But that's just the reason why I would probably care. I would care.
Well,
a lot,
I
for sure.
agree with you that there's many individual women that would care about this. And there's just but if we're talking about the wide scope of women, generally speaking, they don't seem to care as much about it as men care about it. I guess that's the point that I'm after. Not that individual women don't care about it, because I know tons that do.
Quick question for you. You said that, I don't know if you said some men or a lot of men, they prefer their women more seasoned, so like more sexually experienced.
Yeah, some of them do.
Like, yeah, I mean, so
They like to date strippers, OnlyFans girls.
yeah, those
People
guys are
have their
degenerates.
preferences.
But so I guess my question to you is, do you think, like, realistically speaking, do you think when it comes to the sexual experience component, well, I suppose men would like, a woman who is quote unquote good in bed, although if you're a man and you have some degree of sexual experience, you can have a pretty stellar sexual experience with an inexperienced woman or even a virgin. Do you think most men, like, if the trade-off is she's marginally better in the bedroom, or even much better in the bedroom, but this entails that she's fucked 20 additional men before me, do you think most men make that trade-off?
I don't think they think about that. Like, oh, she's
They
better in
definitely-
bed. Oh, she's probably fucked more people. Like, it could
Well,
be she's
but-
been in
It's
like
natural. Oh my
3
goodness.
long-term
It's natural.
relationships.
Oh, but you gotta yes, I agree with, in fact, I may argue this point all the time. A woman who has a low body count, who's been in, 2 relationships, right? 2 long-term relationships. She's probably better in bed than the woman who's had 100 one-night stands with 100 different men
I
and
can
only
agree with
fucked
that.
one man one time.
I can agree with that because of my relationship.
So this idea that the higher the body count, she's going to be better in bed, doesn't really compute necessarily, because
doesn't.
she
I didn't
could have had
say
just a
it's
bunch of one-night
causation.
stands.
I said there's some correlation.
But your whole statement, I don't know why you bring that up, because your whole statement here is we're talking about women with higher body counts, and your position is, your argument for men would prefer a woman with a higher body count is because she's more seasoned, in other words, more sexual experience. It's
Yeah.
kind of frustrating, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's causation necessarily. Sleeping with more people makes you better in bed, but I'm saying that it gives you more experiences. Like, maybe that person's more open sexually. They'd be down to have threesomes. They'd be down to go to orgies with you.
Not
Whereas
me.
a
Why-
virgin,
whoa,
maybe a
hold on.
virgin would not be as open to those sexual experiences.
But why would a guy who is already screening for low body count women, why would he want to
No,
take her
I
to
said
an
a
orgy?
woman. I said guys who
Why the
prefer a seasoned woman. You said, why would guys prefer seasoned women if necessarily they aren't better in bed? I'm saying maybe their sexual preferences and what they're open to.
So they're a cuck.
No,
You said he wants to bring his girl to an orgy.
no, I
Translation,
said
let other men fuck her.
like being with a stripper. I'd say she might be more open to using sex toys, trying role play, trying threesomes. But if you were to fuck a virgin, maybe she'd be kind of more closed off to those things. That's what I mean by more
sex
seasoned.
Sex is not this complicated procedure. Look,
it's different for everyone.
But again, I'll ask the question again because you didn't even give me an answer. So the question is, do you think most men, if they get a woman who's a bit better in bed, the trade-off being that she's fucked 20 other dudes, do you think most men make that trade-off?
What trade-off is happening? They're okay with her fucking 20 more people because she's better in bed?
Can I ask you a question? How would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning?
Lightheaded?
Okay. So okay,
she took that round, Brian.
I could repeat myself. I don't know if that'll help you understand.
Well, what do you mean by trade-off though? He's okay with her fucking 20 more people because she's a little bit better in bed?
Okay, so you're saying
I think no matter how she gets good in bed is none of your concern. Just be fucking grateful that she's with you and she's fucking you good. Whether she slept with 20 men before you or one guy for a long time.
Like in my case.
But okay, so you're saying that your position is that body count doesn't matter, and one of the benefits of a woman who has a higher body count is she's more seasoned, she has more sexual experience, and this is going to lead to conceivably better sex. So I'm asking you, do you think most men are willing to make that trade-off of the woman is better in bed, therefore I will accept a woman with a higher body count because she's better in bed?
Yeah. Some guy wants a certified eater who will make him nut in 5 seconds, or do he want the unexperienced girl who takes an hour to get him off? Like, it's just, it doesn't. Since
when is it women who, like, y'all, oh my God. Okay. So yeah, there's like some Coomer fucking degen men, I guess, who would prefer that. Do you think most men who like want a girlfriend, do you think that those men who have a girlfriend, and if the girlfriend is not like up to par sexually, although it's something that can be worked on and communicated and talked of, he would be like, you know what? I just wish you came better experienced already, and the entailment of that is that you've had an additional 20 sexual partners. Do they make the trade-off?
No, because like I said, it's not causation. Higher bodies does not equal better in bed.
It's your position. Your position. Oh my God, bro. Your position is that a woman with a higher body count is more seasoned.
No, all I said was it doesn't matter how she became good in bed. That's none of your concern. That should not be a judgment of character. That should not be a defining factor in your relationship, I feel like, because like I said, if there's no health concern, if there's no loyalty concern, then what is the concern? That's a matter of like objectifying someone, feeling like they're less worthy because they've experienced more. That's just not a good way to value someone. I agree with that. Because they've been with more people. Like,
what you said, it's objective.
I agree that sex is like spiritual connections. I'm not the type to just sleep around with anybody either. Like, but some people choose to do that with their bodies, so that doesn't make them any less of a person or any.
It makes them less worthy
of being a girlfriend or any less loyal in a relationship.
Sure,
no, it doesn't.
Yes, I think somebody who has a high body count is going to be deemed less desirable in the sexual marketplace. Sorry. This is a metric by which men determine whether they want to be with a woman.
Some men, but at the end of the day, if she never tells you, how would you ever know? Like that really isn't
okay.
At the end of the day, if she doesn't tell you, that doesn't change anything in your relationship. That doesn't make the sex any better or less. It does not make the love any more or less. It does not make her any better or less a person.
Yes, it changes.
More or less promiscuous or loyal in a relationship.
Here, respond to this.
Because that has nothing to do with the relationship or that specific person.
Okay, cool. So respond to this. You just said if she doesn't tell you. Okay, so if I ask her and she lies about it.
No, I'm saying that it's not the end of the world because that's not a determining factor. It doesn't change anything physically in the relationship.
Yeah, she lied about it. You said if she doesn't
No,
tell
I'm
you.
saying at the end of the day, if you never knew what her body count is, what does that change in your relationship?
I can actually, look, I'll even give you a scenario where this could be an issue. So a woman who has more connections with men, albeit this is kind of like one of the more like niche arguments that can be made. A woman who's made more connections with men, it's inevitable that she's landed on a fucking crazy dude. And if you're involved with a crazy fucking ex, then that's an issue for me.
That can be for girls who don't sleep around with people, who have just poor taste in men or just experienced bad men in their life. That doesn't equate to high body count either.
Huh?
That doesn't equate to high body count. People can have crazy exes
not
without
necessarily,
having body count
but you
50
think
plus.
the virgin woman who's never had a long-term
She
relationship...
can be with an
Oh my God,
abusive
shut-
man.
You gotta stop interrupting. The virgin woman, who do you think is more likely to have done the roulette until she's landed on a crazy fuck? The chick who's fucked 100 dudes or the virgin? Who?
What if the virgin has only ever encountered the one horrible, crazy,
My God,
abusive
bro, I can't
man?
argue with somebody who just immediately every time goes
That's
to
what
like the
happened to
exception
me.
to the rule. I just can't even have a conversation.
Maybe a
with you.
virgin wouldn't know
virgin's never had
her
a chance spinning
self-worth
with a
or
crazy
like
dude,
what
that
else is
period.
out there in the
Like,
dating field
you're-
to pick better men. And
Right,
the
good
virgin
point.
is the one who ends up with those crazy exes because they don't have those sexual encounters with
Okay,
more
fine.
Sounds like
free.
me. Wow.
That actually makes
Sounds
Brian's
like
point,
me.
though. I mean, from Brian's perspective, basically, you're just saying that the virgin should go out and have sex with more men so that she doesn't end up inexperienced with men she's not having sex with. That's what your argument there would reduce to.
Wait, you or me? Me?
You, yeah.
Oh wait, what were
you
you
want-
saying?
So what are
Yeah, I'll
I
repeat it.
look?
I'll
I
repeat
guess
it for you.
what are acceptable metrics that men are allowed to disqualify a woman on then?
Their past relationships. Have you cheated on your past partners when you're in like a loyal, committed, exclusive relationship? Like, have you gone through their phone, or have you been cheated on? Those are, I feel like, determining factors of like past trauma, future behaviors in relationships, and like telltale signs of like loyalty and such. But
What
you
is-
shouldn't.
What is considered toxic to you?
Controlling.
I think, yeah, like not being respectful of like your opinions and your feelings and
But
your
if
well-being.
your boyfriend was going through your phone and making an argument with you every time he found a new girl on your phone, wouldn't you actually like get pissed off?
Oh yeah,
So,
my
but
past
you're doing that
relationship was
to
toxic,
him.
and that's why my ex broke up with me. I'm fully aware of that.
Okay.
And I know I have baggage that needs to be healed. I'm not dodging accountability whatsoever.
Last question on this. Do you think that it would be wrong for a guy to not want to date an ex-sex worker?
It's not wrong.
I think that's just preference too.
But it's in her past, right?
Yeah, so
She
I
stopped
think
doing it.
he
She's
should,
not doing it anymore.
Yeah, he should be open to the idea of like, she's a changed person. As long as she won't do that to you, it shouldn't matter what happened in her past. It was just her way of making money. It's not her being disloyal to you or disrespecting you, and it won't happen again.